Hello again, Six Twisted Weather Freaks. Welcome to a special edition of This Week in Weather from your host meteorologist DT from Weather Risk here. We're in Central Virginia. We're going to be talking about Easter Sunday and Sunday night into early Monday morning with regard to the potential for significant severe weather from across the southeastern states up until at least the southern portions of the Mid-Atlantic, mostly into Virginia, maybe southern Maryland as well. So the good news is that the event is a little delayed, so you don't have to worry about your Easter in these areas of North Carolina, Virginia. But in the southeastern states, the Gulf Coast into the South Carolina, Georgia, it probably will impact your Easter. So let's get right to it. I'm going to start out here taking a look. This of course, is the my smiling picture from Richmond, Virginia. I've changed the name of the since we're out of the winter season here. I've changed the name a little bit here on the Twitter page. There you go, and the Facebook page, and there's your email if you want to reach me. Okay, let's get on to see what's going on here. First, we're going to take a look at the Sunday night data and see what that was showing, because that gives us a good premise. Now, this was the forecast map from Sunday, and you can see this is valid for this for tomorrow afternoon. We can see that back on Sunday we forecasted it had a big upper close low over southeastern Canada. There is our big blocking pattern, which everyone's been talking about, and there are two pieces of energy: X2 coming out of the northern jet stream, and then X3 over California. So what the argument or the concern is that this piece of energy is going to come down the ridge, and then this piece of energy is going to come east, and you have a big system form right here, and that would be the big storm for the Midwest and the severe weather for the southeastern states. And the models here from again from Sunday, showed that for tomorrow there's going to be an intense area of low pressure, 968 millibars over Nova Scotia, New Brunswick area, the blizzard here in southeastern Canada. And then it showed again from and then for this was valid here for Saturday, April 11th. This is again was from last Sunday. You can see the two pieces of energy, X2 and X3, getting closer and beginning to phase, and that would result in the system developing here. So in this map here, again, this is from last Sunday, valid for Saturday night. It had the low here. You can see that, and we had our strong cold front, really an Arctic cold front for this time of year, coming in this way, and there was the big Arctic high coming out of Canada, driving the cold air southward. And this, of course, we had high pressure off the coast here, so we had a lot of moisture coming streaming northward into the southeastern states and the Mid-Atlantic region. So that's what it was showing. And then we can see that the system's actually phased here for Sunday. And we had a big system here, X2-3 combination of those two pieces of energy, X2 and X3, here over the Ohio Valley as a major system. And this was the European from last Sunday. Okay, so again, we're still talking about from last Sunday, the data. You can clearly see it had an enormous system here, very powerful system. Cold Arctic high coming out of Canada, especially for April. Look at the strong winds here in the plain states, the northwest, north winds coming out of that way from Minnesota down to Texas. And then for Sunday night, it had the low over DC, Baltimore, maybe Philly, and you can see the impressive high coming down as well. So a lot of cold air behind the system. So that's what it was showing for last Sunday. All right, let's take a look at the data for yesterday. We can see it had the strong cold front coming through today. Look at the winds here. This is just today's cold front. You can see the winds. Let me call up my marker here so you can see it. Look at all these winds. We can see now, look out, if you're out looking out the window, you've been outside today at all, you'll notice very, very windy from Virginia all the way down to Georgia, up to Pennsylvania, all strong winds. This front has now cleared the coast, and we've got the northwest winds coming in. Now, the other concern is here briefly, is that with the high building in here, this high from Missouri coming in here, and the winds dropping off Saturday morning, you can see that over western Virginia, southwest Virginia, western North Carolina, West Virginia, the winds really drop off on the European and the GFS model for Saturday morning. And because they do, we have some very cold temperatures. And a lot of the vineyards in the Shenandoah Valley, a lot of fruit farms have already had bud break with the warm weather. The buds are blooming here, and we can see some pretty cold temperatures getting into the upper 20s for several hours. Now, if these winds drop off, we could have a real frost and or freeze condition, especially like in the Canaan Valley here in West Virginia into western Maryland, but also southwest Virginia, and even in the Virginia Piedmont, 32, 31 degrees. Again, if the winds drop off enough, you could have some frost in these areas. So that is a bit of a concern here. And we're going to have more of that down the road behind this system. A lot more cold air coming in after April 12th and 13th for several days. All right, this was Wednesday's data, and you can see that the model is forecasting two areas of low pressure. The main area of low pressure, this is the European here in central Illinois, and a secondary low there on the front. So that's what it was showing yesterday, and again, it takes it up, you can see, into, I guess, close to Detroit, maybe Cleveland, the main surface low, and there's definitely a second low here over West Virginia, and the main system there, and the cold front clearly discernible for those of you that like cold fronts, and we all do, coming down like this. And again, strong southwest winds bring up the warm air and the moisture. And of course, all up in here, we had the blizzard coming up here Easter Sunday. So actually from Nebraska to Wisconsin. And again, so now we can take a look at, this is the data here from yesterday. And the data was showing clearly, as you can see, this was April's 8th data. Now this is Sunday night, and you can see these are the 1 kilometer helicity values, which show, the spinning motions in the atmosphere and involving the potential downdrafts as well. So you can see nothing is going on in Virginia here Sunday night, and you're getting all this energy down here. Now this is all 200, 300. Meters per second square. You can clearly see a lot of helicity here. And then this is Monday morning. Look at these enormous values at 1 kilometer. Way up here at 400. I mean, Jesus, Joseph, I haven't seen that in a long time here. Maybe since the derecho back in June 30th, 2012. I have to say, quite impressive. Okay, so then if we look at the 3 kilometer helicity values, and again, these are very impressive as well. Now, this is Tuesday's data. This is Wednesday's data. You can see that for Sunday night, we're getting some stuff here, but the main activity is down in Tennessee, Kentucky, Georgia, Western North Carolina. And this is Monday morning. This is just off the freaking charts. 800, 900, 1,000. Are you kidding me? Very impressive stuff. The only thing we have going, which might save us, this is occurring at nighttime, and April nights often are not as stormy, as hot, as warm as June, July, and August. So that might be a saving grace here. But there's an awful lot of helicity involved in this stuff. The photographs are going to be off the charts if this is right. Just unbelievable. Okay, so that's what it was showing. Now let's take a look at the Thursday data. Now this is the overall pattern here as of Thursday morning. You can see the huge blocking feature over Greenland. This is the blocking pattern right here. Very impressive. And we have 2 large upper lows. This one and then the one coming through now, okay, which is going to move it up into southeastern Canada. We just talked about that. And there is the big upper low over California. Very convoluted blocking pattern here for April. Not unusual. We get this a lot in March and April when the cold and the warm equal each other out across the northern hemisphere. So this is what happens when you have that temperature equilibrium. You get a lot of blocking patterns. And this is all caused by the huge block over in Greenland, the negative North American oscillation. Again, where was this pattern in winter? I don't know. If we take a look at the Storm Prediction Center here, oops, let me clear this out. There it is. You can see this is their discussion, the extended discussion here. I'll go over it briefly so you can follow along here, and we can go through this here. D4, Texas, Gulf Coast of the southeast of the Carolinas. Ingredients for a potential severe thunderstorm outbreak appear likely to come together Sunday into Sunday night. An ejecting shortwave trough, that's the feature in California, is forecast to take a neutral to somewhat negative tilt by Sunday afternoon as it moves quickly east-northeast across the southeastern states. Rich low level of moisture will be drawn inland from the Gulf of Mexico in advance of the deepening surface low, which will move from the mid-Mississippi Valley into the Ohio Valley by Monday morning. Moderate destabilization in conjunction with 80 to 100 knot mid-level jet and 50 to 60 knots low-level jet. Okay, we'll have to talk about that in a second. That's wrong. Will result in very favorable environment for organized convection, including the potential for long-track supercells and corresponding strong tornado risk. I agree with that. A very strong low mid-level flow fields will also support widespread damaging wind potential. I agree with that. Some uncertainty remains with regard to the northward extent of the most significant severe potential, given the presence of widespread convection in advance of the ejecting shortwave. In other words, they're saying the first round of showers getting into the mid-Atlantic may dampen the atmosphere. That's what they're saying there. Guidance also continues to trend slightly slow, with the GFS still noticeably faster outlier. Well, that's true. 30% probability of contour has been introduced from Louisiana into the Mississippi, Alabama, and southeastern Georgia, where the confidence is higher. Now, and it says here, an organized severe thunderstorm threat right here, likely to continue late into Monday morning, with potential for damaging winds, tornadoes spreading into the Carolinas by 12Z Monday. Well, again, all of this whole part only to the Carolinas, and this 50 to 60 knots here, that's all based upon the shitty GFS. They're completely ignoring what the European is saying. I mean, they're not even looking at the European, because the European has much stronger winds. I mean, this is complete crap. This is early on Thursday morning. They're looking only at the GFS model. Very disappointed in seeing and what the Storm Prediction Center is saying here. Now, this is an analog from Eric Webb. I'm a great meteorologist down in North Carolina, and you can see that he's looking at the analogs here, the CIPS, the KIPS as they call it, and you can see very strong potential here on Sunday for the Deep South. 45 to 60% probability of significant severe weather based upon other analogs in the past, and the atmosphere looking like it's supposed to. Now, this is the GFS here from today, midday, and you can see it's got the main low over, very strong, 976 millibars over Detroit, and the cold front is running through here with a little bit of a secondary low here, but the main cold front, as you can see, let me get my marker up, running like this, boom, through Monday morning. And that's I agree with that. That makes sense. Not a problem with that. We'll get to the discrepancy here in a little bit. And we follow this around. Now, this is the upper atmosphere. This is the humidity field. Again, this is the new 12Z Thursday GFS. This is Sunday night. So you can see the stuff is coming in to Virginia Sunday night. It's in North Carolina. It's pounding the bejesus out of eastern Tennessee, northern Georgia, northwest South Carolina, eastern Kentucky, Ohio, West Virginia. We all get that. That's not a problem. We agree with that. That seems about right. And then this is here Sunday morning at 1 a.m., 2 a.m. And you can see and the line is very strong. There's your main squall line with the cold front right there. You can see the sharp clearing. All this is all dry air. The brown stuff here is all dry air. And then again, you can see a little dry slot punching up towards Richmond here and down that way. So very strong winds here, really howling. That's where your cold front is. That's 2 a.m. Monday. And then by Monday morning at 8 a.m., you can see it's off the coast now, except for the eastern portions of North Carolina. Now, that could be, a little fast. It could be more like noon when that happens, but that's approximately when it's going to happen. I think the GFS here is fast, again, like it was this morning. Now, this is the GFS. Again, this is valid here. This was, make sure I got that right. This was the 6Z GFS. You can see the main low. It has it over Ohio, maybe north of Toledo, Detroit, and there's your cold front, so that's unchanged. And this is the GFS. This is the European, from this afternoon, the 12Z. This is Monday morning. Again, you can see very strong low. I don't know if you can make it out here, 978 millibars. Let me highlight it for you. The main low is pretty close to Detroit, and there is a little bit of a wave here on the front right here. So, and you can see the cold front, very clearly pronounced. There's our low, and then the front goes like this. So it's a little slower on the European than it is in the GFS, which has it, moving off the coast faster. So there is some difference in the timing still. You can see that here. GFS is faster. All right, let's take a look. Now, this is the brand new European 1 helicity values here. And you can see, for Sunday night, nothing going on. This is Sunday afternoon into the evening hours. So we're just seeing the helicity really spin up here in Georgia, in here, and it's Kentucky and Alabama, but not so much in northern North Carolina, Virginia, Maryland, Delaware. So that means Easter Sunday looks pretty good until the evening hours. And if we look at the radar from the European, yes, the European has radar. You have to get this only if you get this only at EuroWeather. Over here, I don't know if you know about the stuff. It's only like $9 a month, and they have European radar simulation. Not everybody has that. Storm Vista doesn't have it. Weather Models doesn't have it. True Weather doesn't have it, but these guys do. So I think it's pretty cool. I like looking at it. And you can see that Sunday afternoon at 2 p.m., all the big stuff is still down here in Carolinas. South Carolina, Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi. Most of this area, it may not be dry. It still could be partly sunny north in Virginia here through midday Easter, which is not bad. But this says that all of Sunday should be pretty dry in most of Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, and even a good portion of North Carolina, the eastern portion, not the western portion. Okay, that's nice to know. All right, let's take a look here at these winds. Now, this is the European model here. Again, from this afternoon's 12Z run, and you can see, look at the winds here at 850. And this is 1 mile above the ground. The reason why this is important is because when you have your thunderstorms, okay, building up in the clouds, when you have strong winds like this blowing through the thunderstorm, the heavy rain pulls these high winds down to the ground. So you can see right in this area here, you've got 60 to 65 knots, 1 mile above the ground. And then look at Monday morning. Look at that pink and blue stuff in here. That's 80 knots, a mile above the ground. That's 95 miles an hour. That's really dangerous shit, folks, if that actually happens. So that's, that can be some strong winds in these storms here on Monday morning. So that's interesting. Now, the GFS, let me show the reason why. Now, this is, remember I talked about here how the Storm Prediction Center was focusing on just the GFS and had the wrong wind speeds? You can remember I talked about in here? Okay, this was some early in the morning. And the reason I mentioned that is because if we go up here to, let me get the right one. Now, here's the GFS from the morning and midday. See the winds here on the morning GFS in the upper left? A much more broken up field. See, it's like a little bit here and a little bit here and a little bit here, and not much in Virginia. And that's not at all what the new one is showing here in the bottom right. That looks like the European model completely. Look at those winds, 80 knots or higher at 850. Not these big gaps here in the upper left. So that's the difference between the 0Z run and the 12Z run. And as you can see, that looks like the European. Again, what I'm saying to you is, when I say the European is a superior model, I'm not blowing smoke up your ass. All right? You can just see the difference right here. Now, we look at this. We can zoom into this. Here's the European model, 12Z afternoon Thursday run. This is 4 a.m. Monday morning. The winds are blowing through. You can see 65, 70 knots, 75 knots from central North Carolina, Columbia, all the way up to Richmond. And that's, if you're getting thunderstorms in there, that's pretty strong winds that potentially getting mixed in and being brought down to the surface. Now, this is Monday morning. Look at those winds. There's the blue triangle I told you about, right over Richmond, down to Emporia, according to this. And that's 75 to 80 knots, up to 85, 90 miles an hour, potentially wind gusts, if it mixes the right way. It doesn't mean it's going to happen, but it could. It could if these storms are strong and severe. And they'll look like they're going to be. And that's what I'm worried about. This here is the GFS. It's now the 12Z run. You can see it is also much closer towards the European. See the blue areas matching the European here. So that's a good sign. The GFS is now moving in to the, getting the time frame of the GFS gets a lot better. Once you get to 84 hours, it gets a lot better, and we can see the difference here. Rapidly catching up to the European here. All right, the 36 hours. Now this is the new one velocity values. This is now valid here for 2 a.m. on Monday morning, Sunday night. You can see, look at over central and eastern Virginia. 350, 375. Are you kidding me? Very impressive. And then this is now Monday morning. Boom. Now again, this is slower than the GFS. Okay, but so the GFS just does the same sort of thing. It just does it a little earlier. So it's a 4 a.m. Monday morning as opposed to 8 a.m. Monday morning. And this stretches all the way from Wilmington through eastern North Carolina, pretty much east of Raleigh, Fayetteville, Goldsboro, Elizabeth City, up into central and eastern Virginia, from I-95 eastward up into D.C., Baltimore. Pretty impressive looking stuff. Now look at this. This is just, my jaw has been dropping looking at this for days. This is the 3-kilometer helicity, 800 values. That's actually off the freaking chart. I mean, I don't know if you see this, folks. Let me point this out to you. Look at this. This is 600 here, and this is 800. Are you kidding me? No, I've never seen that. The only time I might have seen this is maybe the Derecho in June 2012. Remember that big, huge thunderstorm cluster that came through, and the heat wave blew out all the power for a week? That's the only thing I've seen like this. Now this is coming at night, so this, like I said, so that may help us somewhat. But this is a lot of energy in the atmosphere here. This is pretty intense stuff. So again, this is, and then the bottom image is, like I said, Monday morning at 8 a.m. There's about a 6-hour time difference between the GFS and the European. Looking at the radar here, let me clear out the images. Okay, this here is the European radar. This is 2 a.m. Monday. So we have rain. All right, we have rain in Virginia at this point, but all the severe stuff is still back in here. See that? So this is rain. There's our dry slot coming up into here. So this is all just plain rain here. It's not that bad yet. Okay, so then it looks like it's coming through, from what I can see. This is the big stuff here, the squall line, the cold front, 3 a.m. to 8 a.m., 10 a.m., you can see that. Now, according to this, it still hasn't reached Hampton Roads yet. It is Hampton Roads in East North Carolina. So I-81 here is, if you draw your line, this is I-95 here, and this here is I-81 down here. So it's between the two of them. You pretty much get the idea there, right? Okay, so that's what it looks like, and I think that's fast. Maybe the GFS is going to be right, timing a little fast in the European. I doubt it, but it's possible, especially given the big ridge in the eastern and the western Atlantic Ocean. I don't think the GFS is correct pushing this cold front through that fast. So I'm staying with the European here. The lady, sticking with the lady that brought me to the dance and always gives me a good forecast. Anyway, this is meteorologist DT from Weather Risk. I'll see you on the Facebook page and on the Twitter page.